Sky was the limit for Chairman Vivek Chand Sehgal when he laid the foundation of the Samvardhana Motherson Group in the mid-1970s with just rupees 1,000 in his pocket. Of this, his mother contributed the major chunk of rupees 633, which gave birth to the company's name Motherson. At a time when other fledgling auto component companies mushroomed around the Maruti Udyog business in the 80s era, Sehgal expanded his horizon to foreign shores and never stopped growing. Tapping joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions to catapult himself on the world stage. Today, with a slew of over 370 companies spread across 37 countries and 25 joint ventures under its belt, this Samvardhana Motherson Group ranks amongst the largest auto component players in the world. With a top line of over $9.1 billion or about Rs 58,000 crore posted in the last financial year, the group has now set its target on achieving a revenue of $26 billion or about Rs 167,000 crore by 2020. Of this, the lion's share will come from its listed entity, Motherson Sumi Systems. That's not all. Sehgal plans to float a new healthcare vertical as part of the group's diversification and add 16 new greenfield facilities to boost its auto domain as it continues to chug ahead to fresher pastures in the future. Mr. Sehgal recently talked to ET Auto's editor Dabil A. Khan about his journey so far and future plans.
Hello and welcome to ET Auto. Today we have a very interesting story of an 18-year-old boy who has started his business with mother, and that's how the Motherson Sumi was born in 1975. The investment was rupees 1,000 and today they are targeting to achieve $26 billion of turnover. Let me welcome Mr. V.C. Sehgal, Chairman, Motherson Group. Welcome to ET Auto, sir.
Thank you,
what
sir.
a journey over 4 decades. It's been almost jet motion that you have set. You have always said that you don't set up any benchmark because you will limit yourself to that. How has this journey been, and when you first 5-10 years, when you set up a revenue target of doubling your revenue, tripling your revenue, how was the journey? Did people really get convinced that you will achieve that? Because this is something that was always novice and exorbitant target that you had put on.
I think I wish I could take the credit that yes, I thought so and this happened and all that, but to be honest with you, nothing of that was there. A lot was about survival. The first 15-20 years was all about survival. I think the first 15-20 years was all about learning. I was very lucky to get some amazing customers who could teach me as well and do business with them as well. I was furiously lucky to get Sumitomo as a teacher. I think that changed the whole game completely. Maruti Suzuki, their focus on the vendors, and Sumitomo Son's focus on me as a partner was double gain for me. I think nobody really plans this kind of a huge growth or something like that. But something very interesting was happening. If you remember, when Maruti Suzuki came in, their first year advice to us was to make 20,000 cars. That's it. 20,000 cars, if you're going to make, the whole joint venture was set up on that basis. And then now they're doing 3 million cars. So obviously it's one hell of a change. But I think the main driver of this particular stupendous growth, or what we call big hairy goal that was set, was, I think Maruti was the real protagonist of that. Same was with Hero Honda at that time, same was with almost all the car makers that were coming in and things like that. So I think we became used to looking at big targets and things like that. All we did was we cut the length in the whole thing. Instead of looking at 20 years or 30 years, we started looking at 5 years. And the reason we chose 5 was because a model technically lasted about 5 years, not more than that. So that was the reason we chose 5. But that has stood by us phenomenally. I mean, think about it. In 1993, when we went public, our top line was only 2.2 million US dollars. That's all. And we raised, if I'm not wrong, close to about $700,000 from the public at that time. And today we are about almost 9.2. If you extrapolate the 6 months, we're almost about $10 billion. We're looking at 18 billion for the group with a 40% growth. We're of course looking at 26 billion for the whole group. And we don't feel scared about it. We don't feel intimidated by those numbers.
So those kind of growth has become norm at Motherson Group now. It's not Motherson Sumi that came along with Maruti Suzuki. There were 4-5 other companies that started working for Maruti Suzuki, but we see they have not gone to this extent. What really made you different from them, and what really helped you grow so faster? Because those companies are still limited within the country, within India, or they have a small operations overseas. But Motherson Sumi is not today an Indian company only, but it has taken brand India overseas and it has done so well. Your largest share of revenue comes from Germany, Europe, so developed market like this. What really helped you?
I think the basic core teaching, what Maruti Suzuki did for us, or which the Hondas and the Yamahas and all these people, what they did for us was very core manufacturing, because they wanted to give the Indian customer the best. We were used to rather mediocre in the beginning, but with the coming and the advent of Marutis and the other cars that came in, the bikes that came in, we were treated to something exceptional. What Motherson focused on, one, we focused only on OEMs. We didn't focus in the aftermarket because that sent the wrong signals to the production plants. While we were doing that, we became very close to the German car makers, the American car makers, and things like that. So this allowed us to be handpicked by them and taken to Europe. Okay, can you solve a problem there now? Because you've solved my problems in India. We did we had more than 40 joint ventures at a particular time. So the ability to satisfy them in a different country was something which augured very well for Motherson. And I don't really have a comment on the other guys, what they did. I'm sure they did something which was their focus. But Motherson realized that it was 552 countries that became India. Okay. So, you know, if I had to go to another country, we are already used to it. In fact, in India, when we talk to a room full of people, actually more than 4 or 5 don't come from the same princely state, if you start counting it that way. So I think we are very used to different cultures, different people, and I look at that as a huge strength for Motherson. So the joke in Motherson is, you know, we were 552 countries. What's another 40, 50 countries for us?
So that's a good, really good. Still, India is a very diversified. You have culture, different culture, language, and everything. If you understood that, that's how we see most of the overseas company coming to India. They don't find it so easy to do well. But Motherson has been, because you have already struggled and fought all kind of battle. So it was easy for you. You just mentioned that focus on OEM was one of the key driver. What were the other reasons that helped Motherson Sumi? You know, if
I think
you are to count them.
We always tried, and we still try to make our own way. The reason why we don't want to benchmark against somebody else, because then in that case it kills your creativity, the ability to think differently. Motherson has been very lucky. We have an amazing team. We have one of the lowest attrition rates in the industry. Once a person has joined Motherson, he is so excited, he doesn't want to leave Motherson. So it's a great place to be. On the other side, if a person leaves Motherson, he can't come back into Motherson. So we are very loyal to the people who stay back in Motherson. And I think definitely if you have jumping jacks, then you are doing an injustice to the people who are working with you. So very focused way of looking at production, very focused way of looking at these. You see, normally what happens is people are producing. If something is a little bit up and down, they say, okay, fine, we can sell it in the the market or whatever. But not Motherson. We need to have a very strong focus on QC, DDM, SES, which is quality, cost, design, development, management, safety, and environment and sustainability. So I think it changes the whole attitude of the people. And the customers really appreciated that. And that's the reason they keep asking us to do more. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you go to this country and all that? Think about it. When we went to South Africa, an American car company told Motherson, an Indian company, to go to South Africa to solve a problem there. So, the dynamics are quite different over here. And we're doing very successfully with God's grace. We have 2 plants in South Africa. One is in Joburg, one is in Durban. So it's the ability to be fearless and to go with an open mind rather than be caught in, what people say, why you should not do it. We always look for a reason why we should do.
So you have acquired companies which were larger than your size also. So was there no hesitation or in terms of any kind of thinking that it's a huge risk I'm going to take? How much of such bold step has helped you?
So, there's one life. You don't have 20 lives or something like that. And I've always maintained that acquisition is a double-edged knife. It goes in cutting, it comes out cutting also. So one has to be very careful why he's buying it. That why, that first why, is a very vital why. A lot of people buy it for the wrong reasons. They'll increase their market share, all these kind of things and all that. We always look for an acquisition where the customer wants us to do that. So in such a scenario, it always augurs well because the car maker is also very interested that you survive. It's also very important for the people of that company that they get a second chance. And I've seen in my life that if people are given a second chance, very rarely they don't succeed.
So that's the mantra. What drives your decision basically in your personal life? Your life is, you travel a lot, you have operations across the world, and even in India also you have in Chennai and different cities. How do you manage your work-life balance? Because that's very important nowadays. You always look fresh, Whenever I come to see you, you are as fresh as ever.
Trust me, me and my son, both of us, we don't run any company. So, we could be sitting and chatting for 10 hours. Unless there's an emergency somewhere, my phone won't ring. So I think the first key decision that an entrepreneur has to make, is he the entrepreneur or is he the professional who's going to run the company? I think I have yet to meet a professional who doesn't want to do well in his life. Very rare have I come across a person whom I feel, he doesn't have that growth thing inside him. I have met a lot of professionals who have not been empowered. Had you empowered them, they would have done phenomenally, So I personally believe to have a professional who wants to do well and you empower him, I can't see a reason why he would fail. The same goes for all the associates, same goes for all the support staff and everything. So we have made sure that our entrepreneurship and management are 2 different things. We work together with them. Wherever they hesitate to take a risk decision or something, we are there to sponsor them and say, no, don't worry, we are behind you, and what your decision you're taking is correct. So I think a good mix between the professionals and the entrepreneur is the answer to the game.
So there has been some talk about Motherson Group that they started in India, but they are expanding more overseas. What you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's true to some extent, but it doesn't undermine a particular country or it doesn't undermine a particular product that we are making. I think what is important is Motherson growth story is about increasing content per car. So we have never focused on a particular component per se, and then we want market share globally on that or something like that. So what we are saying is, if we are supplying $100 to the car, can we do $200? It's already 100% growth. So the thought process was quite different right from the beginning. And this actually happened in 94, 95, when between the government and Suzuki-san, there were some problems that were going on, and Maruti actually declined for a year, 2 years. We got the biggest, scare at that time. So what we started to do was, we said, okay, fine, the top line is not growing, the car numbers are not growing, why not increase the content per car? So we started supplying plastic parts, we started supplying other things and all that. And that actually was fantastic for Motherson, because we had just listed in the stock exchange, and instead of supplying, say, $10, we were supplying $20 or $50, whatever. But it didn't matter really whether the GDP was up or it was down. The car industry grew 1%, 2% negative. It didn't make a difference to us because we were going positive. But then you can imagine when the car industry started to rise, we were having geometrical progression over there. And that is the only thing that we have followed. We have a clear policy which says 3CX15, which means no country, no component, no car maker more than 15% of our turnover. So diversification is the name of the game.
You recently also had a similar, the one you mentioned with Volkswagen. Volkswagen being your one of the largest customer, they had a very rough phase, and of course there was an impact on your group also, maybe minor. How did you deal with this, or you did not have at all any impact on yourself?
No, we actually didn't. We kept saying that it has no impact on us, because we were in no way connected with the engine. So even now, with all this electric vehicle and all these things happening, Motherson is agnostic to the engine. So we really was very surprised when people said that, Volkswagen is your biggest group, which is a fact. But they had 7 brands. So I didn't know why they were only looking at Volkswagen as a group, as a shareholder.
But their market share also increased.
Increased. So in fact, as I said, there is nothing as good or bad publicity. Every publicity is publicity. So they actually increased their, discounts. But today they are the world's largest car maker. They've been so for the last 3 years.
You are now a global player, and automotive industry is standing at the door of a big shift that is going to happen, be it policy, be it technology, autonomous electric vehicle. How do you see the landscape of automotive industry 10 years down the line? We are talking about electric vehicle. Do you think we'll be really able to have those many electric vehicles by 2030 or 40? How do you look at it?
I think if they produce it and the people want to buy it, definitely it will be there. But I find it hard to believe that people will be able to compress time. We looked at all the reports that are coming across the globe. Nobody's talking before 2030, 2035, things like these to start showing up. I think somewhere around 2040, 2045, if the current trend goes on, you might have a 50-50 case of ICE engines and electric engines. But in today's world, a lot can happen in 30 years. So I really don't think too much about it. Motherson focuses on a 5-year plan. I can guarantee you by 2020 it won't happen. Rest, I'll tell you in 2020 whether 2025 it will happen or not.
So your journey has been really, a subject of interest for the entire industry, be it automotive industry or. So I'll move towards your journey, and we'll have more questions towards it. So when it comes to your work so far you have done in this space, automotive space, or as an entrepreneur, what are the decisions that you regret, or you think that you would have done it differently that would have helped? And what are 2-3 decisions that you think has helped you where you are today?
I'm a firm believer that things happen at their pace, and also they don't happen at all many times. If you start regretting, then there was a lack of effort on your part. In Motherson's thinking, full effort is full victory. So whether the result is good or bad, that's the way the thing has to be. I'm okay with that. So to name regrets, actually I don't have any. I have a lot of gratefulness. I'm very, very grateful to people. And whenever I've looked back and a thing has not happened the way we thought it would, I'm grateful that it didn't happen, because after 5 years I come to realize actually it was good it didn't happen.
So you have always been very rightly, far-sighted, or your decision has always been great. You think in your personal life you are a devout, admirer of Krishna ji. So how much he has contributed, or his philosophy, or what has helped you?
Well, I just actually quoted him. Full effort is full victory. Is he tells Arjun that. So, in your own way, you will always be influenced by something. I was always very much influenced by Gita. It's only 700 verses. They're not a huge, 500-600 page something over there. It's very simple if you understand it. If you don't understand it, it's still okay to go through life just reading that particular thing again and again. So I'm not a pandit or something like that, but I have seen that if you are doing the good thing, you're doing the right thing, you're not hurting anybody, you won't go wrong. And I'm the best proof you have that it works.
Let's come back to what in the last 3-4 years we have seen. A lot of changes has come in India as well in terms of policy. Talking about GST, let's talk about GST. How do you see that the decision of bringing GST, and do you think it will have a negative impact or positive impact going in the long term? What's your look at?
There is no doubt that GST has all the ingredients to make growth a reality in the future. Whenever a country or a business or something like that is not growing, there are multiple chances that it will vanish. The best lesson to learn is that from the nature. When you look at a tributary, a small trickle of water coming down the mountains, a lot more growth happens, and then it becomes a big river to go into the sea. So if you don't have that, the river disappears somewhere in the desert or something. So I think growth is vital. GST is an amazing engine for growth. The only thing is people are trying to get into something new, and change is always very resistive. People resist it, people think, oh, it's unnecessary and all that. But I'm sure in the coming 1, 2, 3 years, you will see the real benefit of GST coming, when the prices of everything is going to fall, because you are having that additive taxes all across. So I'm sure people will understand how important this is. So whatever pain is happening today, if there is pain, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, no issues at all. We are very, very happy. In fact, our software company is one of the protagonists for GST. So we had no problems. We were absolutely ready in time. We're working okay. But I believe there must be some pain in the system, otherwise why would this noise come? But if there is, I think the government has to look at that, and they are looking at that. But watch in 2-3 years, India is going to be a phenomenal place.
The government is talking about implementation of BS6 by 2020. At the same time, we are also talking about all electric vehicle by 2030. So do you think is it not going to give an extra burden on industry when it comes to investment and the kind of shift that is going to take place? Do you think it's a correct timeline, or?
You know, as of now, I told you we are agnostic to the engine, so it doesn't make so much of a difference as far as we are concerned.
Overall industry.
Yeah, overall industry, it's very hard to say. See, today one big difference has happened about automotives, which was not there, say, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, cars were considered a luxury per se. Today, it is a necessity. So, if the price goes up by another 10%, 15%, if you got to travel, you will take it. So, I don't see that so much of a problem. There will be a resistance for a quarter or 2 quarters maybe. But overall, I have not seen that. I've seen the fuel prices going, when I had a bike in 70s, go from 80 paisa a liter to now it's about $75 or something. Yeah. So, that's 100 times growth already. It doesn't make so much of a difference. People move along, they understand, and they go on. There is a lag which is there. I'm not so worried about that.
How do you want Motherson Sumi to be known in coming future? Right now, you call yourself a solution provider to the OEMs. Do you think that the role of Motherson Sumi is going to expand further, or you think that is the area you will continue to focus?
Yeah, I think at this moment, Motherson, with God's grace, is about, I think, the 23rd largest automotive component group in the world. Definitely, if we hit our targets by 2020, we probably will come in the top 10, 12, 15, I don't know where. I think in 2020, we will introduce you to the new verticals that might be coming in Motherson. And believe me, there's a lot of work going on in those particular things. These are exciting places, exciting times, and I would want Motherson to be known as a trustful company, a company that you can trust. And we've lived up to that particular expectations from all our stakeholders.
So you're talking about new vertical. Is it going to be in automotive space, or
obviously it will be probably away from automotive. It will be away from automotive. But as I said, you know, these seeds have already been sown some 3-4 years ago, and they're all coming out.
Can you give us some hint, more clarity on that?
No, I think these are a little bit onto the to the medical devices, not medicines per se, but medical devices. We are already very well known for retimer.com and THIMS. These are things which help you not to sleep and to put you to sleep, depending upon which way your jet lag or your thing is. But I believe there is a lot more that Motherson can bring in, because today we are in a very interesting situation. We are in 37 countries globally, and there is a lot of research and things that are happening. Since we are tied up to the universities all across the globe, it brings in tremendous amount of power to Motherson to introduce new technologies which would help you, which would actually augment your life, your health, your cars, everything, every aspect about you. So I feel very excited about that.
So you were so far focusing on keeping people safe on the road. Now you are trying to making people, you know, healthier and live healthy life. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Always pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill.